The movie unfolds in a dimly lit room, where Danny, a weathered police detective, sits across from his therapist. His eyes stare to the distance, lost in thought, until the therapist gently brings him back to the present, mentioning his long-lost daughter, Minnie, who was abducted years ago. She goes on to say that he often seems to drift away to the park where he lost his daughter. Danny can vividly recall the image of his little girl, her laughter filling the air as she played on the grass, her long braided hair swaying with each joyful movement. In a fleeting moment of distraction, his attention wavered, and when he refocused, Minnie had vanished. Since that day, Danny has carried the heavy burden of self-blame, even though his therapist had always told him it was not his fault. Upon leaving his therapist's office, he is besieged by flashbacks of the news coverage detailing the abduction and the 18-year-old suspect who pleaded not guilty because of mental instability. Stepping outside the facility, Danny is greeted by his partner, Nix, who hurriedly informs him of an anonymous tip they'd received about an imminent safety deposit box heist. Upon reaching the bank, the two detectives rendezvous with their stakeout team, who had been diligently monitoring the area. As they observe the crowd, Danny's sharp eye catches a man engaging with civilians and guards, prompting them to spring into action. This sudden interaction raises Danny's suspicions, leading him to believe that they may be complicit in the unfolding scheme. Jumping out of the van, Danny strides into the bank and requests to open a safety deposit box from the manager. Once left alone in the room, he unlocks the questionable box and discovers a photograph of his daughter. Meanwhile, outside, the civilian the suspicious man had conversed with begins to exhibit erratic behavior, disrobing and wandering into oncoming traffic, while chaos erupts inside the bank as the guards open fire. Upon hearing the gunfire, Danny quickly takes cover, only to witness the cashier entering the room and retrieving a box from one of the safety chambers. Despite his warnings, she defiantly flees with the box to a waiting truck outside. Amidst the escalating chaos, the woman crashes the truck, allowing the suspicious man to seize the opportunity to plant a bomb inside before making his escape. Upon reaching the scene of the commotion, Danny catches sight of the man making his getaway and gives chase alongside two of his fellow detectives. When they eventually corner the suspicious man, he manages to somehow hypnotize the two detectives, further infuriating Danny by invoking his lost daughter. As they grapple with this bewildering turn of events, Nix arrives, only for the suspicious man to command the hypnotized detectives to turn their guns on each other. Amid the ensuing shock, the man leaps over the roof and vanishes from view. Confused by the events, Danny tells his partner about the picture he had found and how the man had mentioned his daughter, begging him to trust him. Going home that evening, Danny checks the security cameras and watches how the man is interacting with all the victims. Out of the blue, Nix calls Danny to reveal that the anonymous tip about the bank came from a woman named Diana, who runs a psychic shop. Upon reaching the shop, Danny discovers Diana in a session with a client and interrupts her abruptly. Alone with her, he confronts her, accusing her of being a fraud and insisting that he knows she was the one who made the tip-off call. He presses her about her connection to Deluxe, the suspicious man from the bank incident. As fear flashes in her eyes, she implores him to leave, but he remains resolute, suggesting that she accompany him to the station. As she tries to flee the shop, a motorcyclist crashes through, narrowly avoiding Danny and Diana. Reacting swiftly, Danny draws his gun for protection and tries to interrogate the man, only to be stunned as the biker takes his own life by falling onto a sharp pike. Concerned for her safety, Danny escorts Diana to the station, where she cryptically informs him that the individuals he encountered are not in control of their actions and therefore unable to provide any useful information. As Danny presses her for further details, Diana discloses the existence of individuals with innate hypnotic abilities, capable of exerting powerful influence over others. Sensing his skepticism, she elaborates, explaining that these individuals possess the power to fundamentally alter people's perceptions, making their actions seem entirely normal. Intrigued, Danny questions her about her knowledge of this, to which she reveals that she is one of these individuals. Nix, who had overheard the conversation, voices his doubts, further prompting Diana to use him as an example. Seeing the fear in Danny's eyes, she tells him not to worry because she has already tried it on him, and he was immune to her abilities. Alone with Danny, Diana confides in him that she was recruited by individuals seeking those with exceptional intuitive abilities. She goes on to explain that the division was established as a privately operated government organization to influence political events. Diana then reveals that Deluxe, the most powerful hypnotist ever trained, was once considered a legend within the organization, but he ultimately went rogue. Despite the division's attempts to contain him, their efforts proved futile in the end. While Diana is explaining that no one who knew Del Ryan was alive could be safe, the light suddenly goes out and they are attacked by Nix, who is now under Del Ryan's influence. After telling him that Nix wouldn't stop until he accomplished his task, Diana shoots Nix in the head. Fleeing the precinct to evade capture, the two fugitives seek refuge in a secluded diner, where Danny opens up to Diana about Del Ryan's involvement in his daughter's disappearance. Suddenly, they overhear the villain's voice emanating from a radio held by a passing officer. They rush outside, only to find Del Ryan waiting with two other officers. Informing Diana that he will divert the man's attention, Danny implores her to flee while he lures Del Ryan away. However, as he attempts to execute his plan, the surroundings seem to shift in his mind, unveiling the true extent of Del Ryan's power. Confused and disoriented, Danny is rescued by Diana, who plows through the officers with a truck and implores him to jump in. As they make their escape, Diana continues to elaborate on the workings of hypnotic power, revealing to Danny that he possesses a kind of psychic block that is Del Ryan's greatest fear. Upon reaching the border, Diana smoothly navigates through and sets her course for her former handler in the division, a man named Jeremiah. Upon making contact with Jeremiah, he discloses to them that Del Ryan is in pursuit of a potent weapon developed by the division known as Domino, a device designed to manipulate hypnotics. Del Ryan had escaped with the device and then wiped his memory to conceal its whereabouts. When he was eventually apprehended, he had no recollection of his identity or the device's location. Unbeknownst to the division, Del Ryan had implanted triggers in his mind to aid in recollecting his true self and to regain full control of his powers. Danny wants to ask about the picture he had found, but suddenly, Diana senses something suspicious about her old contact, which leads her to realize it was Del Ryan using his powers to impersonate him. As they rush out of the surroundings, they notice civilians chasing them, all under the influence of the powerful Del Ryan. Once cornered, Del Ryan emerges and tries to use the guards to shoot them, but Danny unexpectedly employs unknown powers to stop Del Ryan's attack. After they secure their safety, Danny, bewildered by his actions, turns to Diana for an explanation, but she can only speculate. She hypothesizes that he may have undergone training in the past, only to have his memories erased. Thinking of someone who can assist them, she guides them to an old division hacker who had previously aided her in disappearing. Initially wary of them, he eventually relents and grants them access to his lair. Upon discovering that Del Ryan is at large, River agrees to aid them and hacks into division systems. After some investigation, he uncovers the startling revelation that Danny's wife was a division agent, suggesting that his entire life may have been built on deception. Later, while Diana is freshening up, Danny gets a call from Del Ryan, who orders him to kill Diana. After talking with himself and getting help from Diana, he couldn't control himself, and the two spend a passionate time together. When he wakes up a few hours later, he finds River also asleep and decides to go into his database on his own. As he delves deeper, he stumbles upon a picture of Diana categorized as his wife. Trembling, he searches for Minnie's name and discovers that his daughter is what the division refers to as Domino. It becomes clear to Danny that he is not in the place he believed himself to be, and that he is surrounded by formidable division agents, all intent on extracting the location of his daughter from him. Suddenly, his memories flood back, revealing that he was the one who had taken his daughter and erased his memory to shield her from those seeking to exploit her as a weapon. As he leaves the place and runs outside, he sees that everything is simply a construct built by division. Del Ryan, the leader of the division, reveals that they had made him go through 12 scenarios already, but they are unable to brute force a mind like his. Smiling sarcastically, Danny tells them that he will never reveal his daughter's location, forcing them to take him in. Later, Diana tries to convince him to bring Minnie in one more time before initiating the reset, but he adamantly refuses. Once the process begins, he wakes up again in his therapist's office. Once the construct begins, all division members begin to follow their cue, all of it taking place in a large division compound. As the construct moves at its regular pace, the picture that he had found in the locker gives him his trigger, providing him with age and the ability to escape. Shocked by the change of events, division agents begin to chase him in hopes of subduing him before he escapes the compound, but they're unable to. Taking the parked van, Danny begins to drive past the open round while he is being followed by dozens of agents. Taking the lead, he finally reaches a ranch where his foster family lives, finally remembering where he had left his daughter. As he knocks on the door, it swings open to reveal his foster parents, who had been nurturing and honing Minnie's incredible abilities. Stepping inside, he encounters his daughter, now 4 years older than when he last saw her. The two embrace as they had been separated for years, and she confides in him that she is the one who had sent him the clue. Shortly after, Minnie senses her mother's arrival with the army of agents, and the family prepares to confront them. Despite Diana's attempts to persuade her daughter to come with her, Minnie realizes that she is under the division's influence and uses her abilities to liberate her mother's mind. In a sudden revelation, Delryan comprehends that everything they were witnessing was a creation of Minnie's immense power, proving that she surpasses the combined strength of all the division agents. With a display of her abilities, Minnie compels the agents who had their guns trained on them to turn on each other, effectively neutralizing the entire division. Sensing her mother was being powerfully controlled by Delryan, Minnie pushes all of her powers to the man standing in front of her, easily releasing her. Once Diana remembers that she is under the division's control, Danny reveals to her that they are going to use their daughter to control society instead of liberating it. As the parents witnessed the division's manipulation of their daughter at a tender age, they decided to escape with her. However, they realized that they wouldn't be able to outrun the organization on their own. They resolved to bide their time until Minnie was strong enough to confront the division. In a desperate move to protect her, they made the difficult choice to erase their memories in the process. With the shackles of the division's control finally broken, the family finds solace in each other's arms, savoring the newfound freedom to live their lives without fear or manipulation. They revel in the simple joys of everyday life, cherishing the opportunity to create their own destiny and forge a future unencumbered by the shadows of the past. And with that, the movie ends.